Stitch Cuties, I'm Brittany.
And I'm Julie.
And together we're the mother-daughter duo of Stitches of Love. So, Mom, what are you going to teach us today?
Today we're going to talk about making some accurate cuts for your piece blocks.
I love it. Let's get started. What are your favorite tips to start with?
Well, my first thing is I like to start with a piece of fabric that's been starched. So it's kind of like a piece of paper.
Love it.
Gives you a little more control over it. And it doesn't wibble wobble. I like to use a good ruler that has all the marks I might need, like 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. I like thinner lines on my rulers because I can see better where my edges are. And I like to have a rotary blade.
Fresh.
That's kind of fresh. Not always fresh, but not dull. If you have a nice sharp blade, you're not going to as apt to cut yourself.
And nothing is worse than when you have a nick in your blade and it leaves like one little thread.
And you have to go back and
recut it again.
That gets you a little wobbly sometimes, and you can mess up your square or whatever you're cutting.
And it's just frustrating.
Yeah. So right here, what I have is a piece of fabric that's about, I don't know, 3 inches or so and 5.5 inches long. So I'm going to cut 2 1.5 inch squares. How's that sound?
Okay.
Or 2, I'm going to cut 2 2-inch squares. That's a little easier to see, I think.
Normally you'd read a pattern. You'd cut what they asked you to cut for your project.
Good point.
But right now Mom's inventing the pattern.
I'm just making this up. So, assuming you have a piece of fabric that's not squared up or anything, I like to give myself a straight edge. So I would give this just a little cut. Now, you want to be sure when you're using your rulers, don't put your finger, like here, it's clearing down here, but you're going to run right into it. No,
Safety first.
No messy fingers. So keep your fingers well away from the edge. I like to put my little finger on the outer edge if I can. Most of the rulers I can, even a 6-inch ruler. That helps stabilize it to keep it from shifting over. I'm just cutting through 1 layer of fabric right now, but you can cut through about 6 layers without any problem, generally speaking. So now I have a nice straight edge, so I'm going to use that to give me another line over here. Now when I'm doing this and like sort of squaring up my fabric before I make my cuts, I like to use the part of the ruler that's not a solid line because then I can see it really well. Do you think everybody can see that?
I think you can.
There's little tiny dots along here on this. It's actually a 1/4 inch mark. So I've got this line straight up, and you can see that this wasn't straight. See how thicker it is down here, the extra fabric? So I'm going to cut that off. Now, because I'm sitting down, I didn't get a good contact or pressure, and I don't know if y'all saw that, but the ruler slid.
I saw it. I saw a wiggle.
Yeah. So that's not going to be good.
So Mom's going to stand up. So this is one of your tips. You need to be in a position to have control.
Yes, and I think most people feel like they have to cut standing up. And typically you would use have a cutting table that was taller. But if not, just for a few, you can deal with a lower table. So then I'm holding it still. I've got firm pressure holding this ruler down so it's not going to wobble this time.
And are you pressing really hard with your rotary?
No, because my blade is nice and sharp.
I think that's one thing that a lot of people do is they cut too hard with their blade. But you don't actually have to press hard with your blade.
You're not trying to cut your mat and your fabric. You just want to cut through the fabric.
Fabric only.
Fabric only. So now I said I wanted to cut 2-inch cuts. I'm going to show you this ruler. I can still see there's gaps.
That's very nice on that ruler.
There's a gap right there just because it's got the extra name of who made it, which in this case I'll just tell. This is a Lori Holt Cute Cuts, and that says Riley Blake right there. I don't know if you
I
can
like
see
having that gap though.
So I've got my line straight on the edge of this because I know that was a straight line. So again, I'm going to give firm pressure. There we go.
That was your third cut.
That's my third cut. Now, when I go to make my other cuts, I'm trying to cut 2 inches, right? I'm going to use the 90-degree line. I don't have to be on the 1 and the 2 like this. And I don't want to do that because I think that it's better to have a ruler down here. It helps you hold the fabric still. So I can still count 2 inches, right?
And to make sure everyone knows, you have a cut, and a cut. This is your side that has not been cut yet.
Right.
Just to make sure everyone knows, because you flipped it. I wanted to make sure everyone followed.
Yeah, so it's right angles here. I can see that it's
perfect,
fitting in there nicely.
That's some good cutting, Mom.
Thank you. I had a little bit of practice. So again, I'm going to hold that down. It's nice and firm. Look that my fingers aren't there. Give a nice little cut. See, that part wobbled. Who cares? This is what matters. We want this piece to be exactly 2 by 2. And so we're going to do that again. And if you're somebody like me and you like to look at the dotted line better, you can, on this top bottom bit, look at your dotted line here. You know, that's ½ inch, ½ inch, ½ inch. So I know that's 2, right?
Yep.
So essentially I'm going from 1.5 to 3.5, therefore 2 inches. And you shouldn't wave your blade around like I was just doing.
I was seeing that.
I drive her crazy with that.
Here at the office, blade safety is very important, and
I've never cut myself with a rotary.
I have.
There. Waste.
Close your blade.
Oh, see, I do it all the time.
I know.
So now I have 2 that are cut. Perfect 2-inch squares.
I love it.
I can lay these together, and because they're starch, they stay together really well.
Like paper, it's fantastic.
And I can feel that they're perfect. But if I want to check them, if you know you have something, you can just lay it on here and check it again. And so,
perfect.
very easy. So the main thing is you want to do is...
You want to sit down so we can...
Sure. I would say that the best thing to do is to stick with the same type of rulers.
So pick a brand that you really like and stick with that.
Now, use a ruler that's kind of a manageable size. Like, for instance, I wouldn't use this if I was trying to cut out a 24, or excuse me, say a 2-inch strip of fabric off of yardage. This is not the ruler for you. The ruler then would be one of those 24-inch rulers, like a 6-inch by 24. That's going to give you the ability to go all the way across. A smaller ruler is easy to use for doing subcuts.
So basically, it's really nice to have like one for your width of fabric cuts.
Yep.
One maybe medium sized for your smaller or for your larger subcuts. Very small for your really small subcuts, and then maybe one square ruler.
Yeah, I would suggest if you're a new quilter, try to get a square ruler. A lot of blocks, if you're doing, they're like 12.5 inch would be a great ruler to have if you're a new quilter. I use a lot of rulers.
Yes.
Lots and lots.
But if you're just starting, a couple here and there to get started with, it's really helpful to have like kind of both spectrums and fill in the middle.
Yeah. I have a friend who has, I think she said last count I heard was over 60 rulers.
Wow.
I mean scissors, excuse me.
Oh.
60 pairs of scissors.
I wonder how many rulers you have.
I have a lot of rulers. Of course, I've been doing this for a long time. So I have a lot of rulers. Some rulers I have even worn the markings off of them. I used them so much.
That's happened downstairs in the kitting.
Yeah, the girls have used some of them too a long time too. So anyway, again, try to stick with the brand the same size, the brand printed the same way. They're going to be more accurate. This will be your perfect 2-inch from using a Lori Holt Cute Cuts, which I'm sure that it matches the other rulers too.
I think the rulers are all accurate, but it does just sort of, to me, what changes is the thickness of the lines.
And, here's another really important thing. You don't want to, when you're cutting on your cutting mats, use your rulers to make the measurements. Don't measure like 2 inches over on the mat. That's going to be different than 2 inches on your ruler.
I have been guilty of doing that possibly in a tutorial.
Yeah, don't do that. It's easy. It makes you want to do it, but don't do that. You can do that for rough cuts. Like if you wanted to cut, say you needed half a yard to work with, I would maybe go like 18.5 inches, and I would feel fine cutting that based off what the ruler said, the cutting mat said. But when it came down to actually cutting my pieces, I would cut with the ruler and I would stick
for your accurate final trim.
Right.
Exactly. Rough cuts go crazy.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Okay.
You know what it makes me think of?
No.
Going to the gnome block of the month, we gave everybody, I think it's 23 by 14 inches, and they need like 6, 6, and 6 or something. And then eventually that's going to get trimmed down to 4.5. So I used my lines on my mat to cut my 6s, knowing that that's a rough cut, knowing my applique will be trimmed down at the end after sewing. So again, that's a rough cut, but an example relevant to one of our clubs.
And, as far as, like which ruler's the best, they're all good. I mean, really.
Mhm.
You just
We learned a minute ago that we have totally different brands of favorites.
Yeah.
We won't say that because we would be nice to all brands, but she doesn't like the brand that I love. And I don't know that I've really used the brand that you love that much.
Well, I like the brand that you like, but
Yeah, but so it's definitely a personal preference.
yeah.
There's no wrong answers, usually.
It's, as Lori Holt says, you're the boss of your own quilt.
And as you say, no quilt police allowed.
That's right.
We don't allow them here. Nope.
Well, some people, I have a tendency to say, you need to do this like this. But I feel like I'm the old pro.
Well, if you're talking about cutting kits, that's different than making your own project.
Yeah.
On your own stuff, there's no quilt police. In any case. Well, that was helpful, Mom. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Always happy to talk about quilting.
And what's the thing that everyone should do when they love this video?
They should hit the like button and subscribe to our channel.
Yes. And
on
then,
YouTube.
After that, of course, watch like all of our videos. And then visit stitchesoflovequilting.com and join a Look of the Month.
Yeah, you might see something you like.
You'll want all of it. Everybody has to join every club. It's a thing. Sorry. We apologize in advance for you loving everything. It's true. We do get really funny emails of people saying that.
Like, oh no, you did it again.
Stop! We can't help it. She just keeps making cute stuff. What can we do?
It's easy. It's fun.
It is. All right, well, happy stitching.
Happy stitching, everybody.
And happy cutting.